Sound to your mind.
Breathe. I stay quiet as I light on my loud light. Breathe. I balance diet, I'm just trying to get my pounds right. Breathe. I stay quiet as I light on my loud light. Breathe. I balance diet, I'm just trying to get my pounds right. Shouts all of my team, I need more than a mattress support in my dreams. Could grab a few Zeds like I'm falling asleep, but I don't wanna wake for the morning. Grief, breathe. Tears drop to the form in the sea. A broke heart, but it's worn in my sleeve. Never listened, I was warned in my teens, but I still skipped school, I was taught in the streets. Ring back, don't call for police. Stand tall, don't fall for the beast. Got issues with trust, so I'm born to believe. We've been a victim of love and now we're caught in it deep. Breathe.
Yes, what's happening, people? And welcome back to Gav Goes In. Hope everyone's enjoying their Saturday. Just got the Arsenal game in the background, obviously against Mansfield. Mansfield causing them problems. And yeah, listen, let's see what happens, man. I think away from home, Arsenal against Mansfield is going to be a difficult game. I mean, you would expect Arsenal to win this game, but listen, it's the FA Cup and anything can happen, man. So it's one of them things. Big up to Babs One Diva. Big up yourself each and every time. Says this stream is going to be fire. Where are the Arsenal fans at? Well, let's be honest, man. They'll be watching the game, and no doubt they'll be dropping in if Arsenal score or if they win the game to try and rub it in, you know, as what they rub it in our faces as what they do. So listen, it is what it is. Big up to Exedra. Big up my guy. Yeah, I've been good, man. Hope you're well too. Obviously, yeah, this stream I'm going to enjoy, you know, which we'll get into in a minute. And big up to Foxy Danny as well, each and every time for coming through. Happy Saturday. Yeah, hope everyone's enjoying their weekend. Hope everyone has a nice relaxing day, you know, and yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy the whole weekend, man. That's what it is. Big up to Fitz, big up my guy each and every time as well. I know you're going to enjoy this one because a certain Lumi Rain, you know, was the instigator of this, really. So I did say that I am going to do this stream, and let's see if if she gets involved, because yeah, listen, it was her idea. Well, not her idea, but she was instigating a lot of this talk. So yeah, let's see. Big up to Red Devil News as well. Yeah, I'm all good, man. All good. So are there two live streams going simultaneously? Oh, right. No. So basically, obviously, because I stream through StreamYard, you know, StreamYard gives you the option to stream through a computer or laptop or through your phone. So you'll be able to see me, obviously, through your phone on a smaller, obviously, setting. And obviously, if you're viewing from a computer or laptop, it's a wider screen, isn't it? So that's why it might seem like that anyway. But yeah, guys, big up yourselves. And as always, guys, when you come through, make sure you smash the like button, help the channel to grow, and make sure you you sub to the channel if you're new, and share the channel, guys, on all your platforms as well. Obviously, decent numbers yesterday. Big up to everyone coming through as well. That was a fiery stream, you know, but I enjoyed it. You know, the chat was going off. But listen, yeah, it was a good one. It was a good one. But listen, before we start, guys, yeah, I want to touch on this before we go into obviously the main topic that we're going to discuss today. Yeah. All I want to say, yeah, first and foremost, just bringing it back to Manchester United, yeah. Big up to Patrice Evra. Big up to Patrice Evra, because Patrice Evra, you know, has come a long way. You know, Man United captain. Well, before that, actually making his debut, Manchester derby, him and Vidic, if anyone remembers, you know, had a disgrace of a first half, really, for their debuts. And I believe they both got hauled off at half-time as well. So, and obviously from there, you know, Patrice Evra became United captain, you know, one of the best left-backs to play in the Premier League. And Champions League winner, you know, Premier League winner. And obviously, once his career stopped, you find the guy eating raw chicken on live TV. You know what I mean? So he has come a long way. But, you know, some of the things he's been doing has been questionable, you know. But what I would say with Patrice Evra, yeah, I see some comments last night, and you know what? Big up to Patrice Evra, and I'm gonna read out what he said, yeah. And I'm glad, yeah, someone's actually like Patrice Evra, who is in the media. I'm glad someone's actually said what a lot of us probably are agreeing to anyway, yeah. So just read you the comments before we go on. Arsenal on the attack over the bar as usual. So yeah, Patrice Evra says, yeah, he claims that none of his ex-teammates have a leg to stand on after their own failures as managers. And you know what? I rate that highly, yeah, because you got Roy Keane, you got Paul Scholes, you got Gary Neville, yeah. These guys have a lot to say in the media. You know, these guys were very good players for Manchester United, top players, in fact, yeah. But when it comes to their punditry, yeah, their punditry is some of the worst I've heard in terms of bias to certain players, bias to certain managers, you know. And these guys try pushing narratives. And it's good that Patrice Evra, you know, has hit back saying that these pundits, you know, they were failures as managers. You look at Gary Neville's time at Valencia, the guy got sacked and disgraced that club. Roy Keane didn't really have a great managerial career with Sunderland. I can't remember if he was Ireland manager as well. And then Paul Scholes, who was he manager of? Oldham. And that's it. And that's why you find these guys, you know, sitting in studios just talking now, because again, these guys have failed, you know. And you would have thought these guys having a former player, except for Roy Keane. I think Gary Neville played with Carrick. Paul Scholes did. Obviously, Carrick replaced Roy Keane and took his number. Yeah. So maybe Roy Keane has a bitterness towards him in that front. Yeah. But what I would say is it's refreshing to see Evra come out and saying that these guys can't really talk, you know, after their careers as managers. Then he says, I hope Paul Scholes' Instagram story is fake. I hope he was hacked. To be honest, I'm not surprised at that from Scholesy. He was the quietest player I've ever played with in my entire career. Now in the media, he drops bombshells. Spot on. And what I would say about that, yeah, is that, again, Paul Scholes, the footballer, one of the best this country has ever produced, one of the best players to ever play in the Premier League. I think we can all agree to that, yeah? But his punditry is some of the worst. And sometimes you have to think to yourself, is Paul Scholes actually watching the games? You know, because we know that these people are very much scripted as well. And it's clear to me to see that, you know, Paul Scholes, Roy Keane, these guys have a personal, well, I say personal, well, Roy Keane has a personal problem with Carrick. You know, I think Paul Scholes is probably envious of Carrick, because I don't understand how Carrick can come to the club, yeah, after the failures of Ruben Amorim, and he's come to the club, and Man United have had what, 8 games, six wins, 1 draw, 1 loss, and then these guys choose the time to come out and start talking. You know, it's just odd for me. But again, whether these guys wish they was in Carrick's position, who knows? But the fact that they're coming out criticizing Carrick, you know, 1 minute it was the players' fault as to why United were losing games. All of a sudden now it's Carrick's fault. And look at Carrick's record since he's come to the club, you know. And again, people can criticize, they can have their say, whatever they want, yeah. Yeah, big up to Exedra. Guys, if you want to read it for yourself, Exedra's put that in the chat. So yeah, give that a check. I'll put it on the screen for you guys now anyway. So again, the fact that Scholes is now talking, you know, where was this talk for when Ruben Amorim was disgracing us? You know, it was the players this, the players that, and now all of a sudden, you know, it's cool to be criticizing Carrick, who's actually an ex-player and a legend of Manchester United, which doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? But again, to me, it just stinks of jealousy and envy, really, because they probably wish they was in Carrick's shoes, in my opinion, yeah? So let's move on. So there's been negative analysis from Scholesy, but also from Roy Keane and Gary Neville. It annoys me because we want to be in the top 4, and those comments are necessary. But this is what you do when you work in TV. You can't be positive. You have to be negative. And again, nothing different to what we've been discussing anyway. You know, these pundits and the media are a bigger problem than people probably actually realize, because what they do is that they drive narratives for players that are rated in the media and players that are vilified or criticized in the media. So these guys do their best, yeah, to try and run narratives. And this is the problem that's been going on for years, you know. And the fact that these guys, you know, are either former teammates of Michael Carrick, and you know, these guys are just freely criticizing him now when the same wasn't given to Ruben Amorim, just says one thing about that. You know what I mean? That these guys are obviously jealous, you know. And again, Carrick's had 8 games, 6 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. You know, people can say the last 4 games that they've played haven't been great, which is fair enough. But Carrick for me definitely deserves leeway in regards to what he's done at the club so far, you know. And again, when you've got those guys that are failed managers, you know, them guys need to just be quiet, really, you know, because I wouldn't even mind if these guys were consistent. Why is it that Solskjaer was getting protected by these pundits? You know, if you remember, Gary Neville said that, you know, because he's an ex teammate of his, he's not going to criticize Solskjaer, but yet he's quick to say something in regards to Carrick, even though Carrick has provided the you know, the performances and results that United have been crying out for since Amorim, you know. So yeah, that's odd. And then most of these guys get managerial jobs and get fired straight away. Facts, no facts. I'm sorry, no lies told, shall I say. I said to Neville, it's easy to talk on TV. When you were at Valencia, they asked you for paella and you gave them fish and chips. You know what I mean? So again, no lies told from Patrice Evra. And it's refreshing to see an actual pundit, ex-player, coming out and calling Gary Neville, Paul Scholes, and Roy Keane out, because too many people hang on their every word. Don't just because these guys were great footballers for the club, it don't mean that these guys know what they're talking about, because there's a reason why they're in the studio and they're not managing clubs. Because again, managing and coaching is a different thing to playing, you know, and you can clearly see that these guys ain't got it, but yet they want to do the most talking in the media. It's crazy. You know what I mean? So 1 minute. Yeah, it's crazy. So I'm glad, man, that these guys have more or less been called out by Patrice Evra. It's refreshing, man. Let's go on to some of your chats, guys, and then obviously we'll get started. But big up. Having a bit of problem with this. Right, so let's see this. Yeah, big up Red Devils, man. One of our best left backs for sure, man. I think only Ashley Cole really is in the argument to be better than Patrice Evra for me as a left back in the modern era. Yeah, listen, Evra did speak the truth, man. It's refreshing to see, you know, and I've not seen a former player call out this nonsense for time, you know, and this is a former teammate as well of them. So it's good, you know, because I don't believe Carrick should be getting any criticism. Not at all. Big up to Carrick Ball as well. Let's keep it clean in the chat, guys. Not like yesterday. Gary Neville is still talking after turning Valencia into a relegation club. There you go. There you go. And let's get it right, yeah. Gary Neville does have, you know, good observations on football at times, but Gary Neville seems to think he's the spokesperson for everyone in football, and he's not, you know what I mean? So he needs to look at his own managerial career before talking about others. It's a fact. You know, he was out of his depth when it comes to management. Forgive Paul Scholes. He's a legend. He is a legend, but I ain't forgiving anyone. Like, end of the day, separate the legend of a footballer from their punditry, because this is what people do. People think because they were a legend for the club, they get a pass when it comes to when they get things wrong. Not for me, you know. Big up to football and stuff. Big up yourself for coming through. Guys, let's get these likes up as well. Yeah, obviously Dennis Irwin, man. That goes without saying. But modern era, Evra and Ashley Coleman, no doubt. Big up to Mamba coming back through. Mamba, you guys are having a tough game at the moment. Mansfield on the run. Yeah, listen, you guys are having a tough game at the moment, but I do expect you guys to win the game anyway. You know, it's not going to be a surprise there. But anyway, guys, let's get into it anyway. So yeah, listen, big up to Lumi Rain, because this was Lumi Rain's. This was her kind of, instigation, I would say, in terms of saying that, she reckons that Arsenal's first team and their second team beat any first and second team around, and that's including the past. Yeah. Now, whether she was trolling or just messing around, I'm not too sure. But to be honest with you, she seemed like she was serious. Yeah. So what I've done, and big up to Fitz as well. What I've done, I've managed to get the teams, yeah, that we are going to compare with this current Arsenal team, and then we are going to see how this Arsenal team currently stacks up against some of the teams of the past. Yeah. Let me just get the actual Arsenal team up first, and I'm going to put it on the screen. Just bear me 1 minute, guys. Let's see where this is. Make sure you're smashing them likes, guys, as well, please. Right, guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it on the screen. So obviously I'm going to be blanked out. So you're going to see the current Arsenal team. And then I'm going to go through all the top teams. And we're going to go through if this Arsenal team has any chance against these legendary teams. Their first and second. So I'm going to put it on the screen now. Okay. So as you guys can see, let's get rid of that quickly. Okay. So as we know, Arsenal's main first team, guys, yeah, is David Raya in goal, Urian Timber, and Calafiori, you would say. Maybe Hincapié as the fullbacks. William Saliba, Gabriel as the two centre-backs. Then you've got Zubimendi, Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard, Bukayo Saka. I know Eze's there, but you'd probably say it's Trossard. And then Victor Gyökeres as the striker. And then backing him up, you've got Kepa as the reserve keeper. Ben White, second choice to Timber. Mosquera, second choice to Saliba. Then you can have Hincapié as second choice to Gabriel. And then Lewis Skelly, second choice to Calafiori. Christian Norgard backing up Zubimendi. Mikel Merino backing up Rice. And then you've got, I'd put Eze there backing up Martin Odegaard. And then you've got Madueke, Max Dallman backing up Saka. Martinelli backing up Trossard, and then you've got Kai Havertz and Gabriel Jesus backing up Victor Gyökeres. So that's Arsenal's entire squad depth, yeah? And as I said, Lumi Rain did say, there's not a team that would beat this Arsenal first and second team, yeah? And again, we're going to compare some of the great teams of the past, yeah? So that's the Arsenal team, guys. So first up, we're going to put on Inter Milan's 06-07 team. And again, keep your questions and comments coming through. And I will obviously break once I've finished discussing each team and how it compares against this current Arsenal team, yeah? And their reserve team. So we go to Inter Milan's A team. Obviously, those of you that were, that were probably born after the year 2006, 2007, you might not know some of these players, yeah? Now, obviously, some of these teams did play different formations, yeah? But we can still compare player for player and squad, yeah? So, again, Inter Milan's goalkeeper was Francesco Toldo, yeah? Again, not a goalkeeper that was renowned for being one of the best keepers in the world, but was part of this Inter Milan team that I believe did win the Scudetto. And again, a solid keeper. There was someone that did say to me that David Raya is amongst the best goalkeepers in the world right now. And what I would say, yeah, is that if people do actually genuinely think that, yeah, it's another indication of how of how football has declined, because Francesco Toldo was never rated as one of the best keepers in the world. But I can tell you this for free, he's a better keeper than David Raya. So you had him in goal. And then let's look at the fullbacks. Javier Zanetti. If anyone remembers Javier Zanetti, Argentinian international, yeah? Javier Zanetti is one of the best fullbacks of all time. This guy could play right back, left back, centre midfield as well, yeah? So if we're comparing Zanetti and Timber, if you know, yeah? Zanetti's one of the best fullbacks to play the game. And he's often someone that I forget about as well, yeah? So if you're comparing Zanetti and Timber, Zanetti's better than Jurrien Timber. It's a fact. Jurrien Timber's actually a centre-back by trade. Zanetti is a fullback, yeah? Then we've got Walter Samuel and Marco Materazzi. If anyone remembers Materazzi, Materazzi was the guy that insulted Zidane, and then Zidane threw that headbutt in the World Cup final, if you remember. Yeah, him and Walter Samuel. Walter Samuel's actually left-footed, so you've got two left-footed centre-backs there. Now, if I'm looking at Gabriel and Saliba as a pairing, I mean, Samuel and Materazzi, for me, they weren't the greatest centre-backs. Both of them never really had the pace, but they had the know-how. They had the quality as well. And to say that Gabriel and Saliba are anywhere near the level of Walter Samuel or Materazzi is difficult. I think if they was to win Champions League or a league title, there probably might be some sort of a conversation, yeah? And again, these are two players for me. Walter Samuel, again, was formerly of Real Madrid. But these are two defenders that weren't really rated as two of the best defenders in world football, but they were still top defenders. Materazzi was more or less a scumbag as well as a defender when he insulted Zidane's mother, if you remember. And Walter Samuel, again, was just an organized, composed, a central defender. Yeah. But again, I look at Gabriel, I look at Saliba. Can Gabriel and Saliba be rated as better than Samuel and Materazzi? Not for me. They need a few more years of consistent performances, and most importantly, winning titles. Yeah. Then we move on to Francesco Coco. Again, left back. I look at left backs now. Again, not a defender that was rated that highly, But in terms of what Arsenal have to produce in that position, Hincapié, Calafiori, and Lewis Skelly, none of them have done anything as of note in their career to be ranked ahead of Francesco Coco. And again, Coco isn't someone that you would say is a top left back. He was just a good goal. Madueke 1-0. Good finish. He's just someone that is just rated as a good left back. You know what I mean? So again, do I think there's any left backs that are better than that Arsenal have that are better than Coco? Not for me. Right. Then we move on, guys, to the midfield. Yeah. Luis Figo. I'm pretty sure everyone is aware of Luis Figo. He was the golden boy of Portuguese football before Quaresma. Obviously, if you remember Ricardo Quaresma, Quaresma was the bigger talent between him and Ronaldo. Obviously, Ronaldo's work ethic is what took him past Quaresma. Yeah. But Figo was the original. Obviously, when I'm talking about the original, obviously, Eusebio was before my time. And then you had him and Rui Costa, Figo and Rui Costa. And I look at what Arsenal have on that right-hand side in terms of Bukayo Saka, in terms of Madueke, and Daumann's obviously still inexperienced. Yeah. We're going to move on very quickly because nothing that Arsenal have can trouble Luis Figo. Again, Luis Figo wasn't blessed with pace, but Luis Figo was blessed with just pure ability before making no, that was after. I think he was at Real Madrid before the Inter Milan move, if I remember. Yeah, he was before that. Yeah. And again, that wasn't a Figo that was in his prime, but that was a Luis Figo that was still one of the best wide players in the game. Yeah. Then we go on to Santi Solari. Yeah. Santiago Solari. Again, another former Real Madrid player. And again, I look at what Arsenal have on that left-hand side between between Trossard and Martinelli. Again, none of them are on the level of a Santi Solari. Yeah. Let's go on to the midfield. Cambiaso and Patrick Vieira. Obviously, former Arsenal player Patrick Vieira. If anyone remembers Esteban Cambiaso, what a player Cambiaso was. You know, Argentinian international, played for Real Madrid. You know, the guy was literally, I mean, if you want to compare a Cambiaso, he was left-footed, but you could probably say he was a Declan Rice in a sense. You know, a lot better player than Declan Rice on the ball, but in terms of his energy, his hunger, his passion, he probably displays that a lot. Declan Rice displays a lot of that, you know. So he's like a Declan Rice is a poor man's Esteban Cambiaso. Again, as a footballer, Esteban Cambiaso clears him. Yeah. So again, I look at that whole midfield for Inter Milan, and Arsenal do not have one player, yeah, that can touch any of them. There's no point getting onto Vieira, because I'm pretty sure a lot of the Arsenal fans would actually say that Patrick Vieira is arguably one of their best ever midfielders they've had, you know, along with Cesc Fabregas. So there's no point going into that. And then we go to two of my favorite strikers ever, Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Adriano. Yeah. And again, I'm not going to dwell too much on Ibra and Adriano, because for those of you that don't remember Adriano, yeah, or Ibrahimovic in their prime, to even discuss Arsenal's front line with those two, it's an absolute disgrace, put it that way, because you're looking at two of the greatest strikers of all time. And again, Adriano never had the longevity that he should have had for obvious reasons, but everyone knows Ibrahimovic's career. And these two, you know, if you're from the era that I'm from in terms of the Pro Evo days, and you were that Inter Milan team, just go. If you wasn't, and you've got a Pro Evo game, I'd advise you to go and use that Inter Milan team with Adriano and Ibrahimovic, and you would see the devastation that these two players had. You know, one was left-footed, one was right-footed. Both were the strongest in the game. You know, both had good pace. You know, but their shot power and their finishing was something else. Yeah. And again, if you're from that era, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, two of the greatest ever strikers to play. And to even mention Gyökeres, Havertz, and Jesus is disrespectful in the first place. So I think it's quite clear to see, yeah, that whole Inter Milan A team, yeah, there's not one Arsenal player from their current A team, and there's no point mentioning their B team, that can trouble that Inter Milan team right there. There's not one player. If you want to have an argument for Gabriel and Saliba ahead of Materazzi or Walter Samuel, you know, I would say it's not really realistic, but I would kind of hear it. Yeah. But anything other than that, yeah, there's not one player that this Arsenal current team can trouble there. Yeah. And then you've got the B team. And again, I'll just run through the B team. Yeah. Julio Cesar. If anyone remembers Julio Cesar, yeah, became one of the best keepers in the world. Yeah. Again, he's arguably better than Francesco Toldo. Yeah. And that's in their B team. Obviously, everyone remembers Maicon. Yeah. And again, these players that are on the B team, they could easily swap with the A team. And I'll tell you what players I would swap. So you've got Maicon. If anyone remembers Maicon, one of the best right backs in the game until Gareth Bale destroyed him at the San Siro, if you remember. Ivan Cordoba, you know, wasn't blessed with the height that many defenders are known with in the game, but he was quick, and what a good defender he was. Leonardo Bonucci, we all know about Bonucci, you know, Euro winner, obviously formerly of Juventus as well. And then you've got Maxwell, Brazilian left back. Yeah. Cristiano Zanetti in midfield, Olivier Dacour, former Leeds player, Dejan Stankovic, and then one of my favorite players, Alvaro Recoba. And again, when people tell me about Bruno Fernandes, Jude Bellingham, Mason Mount, all these players that are just not number 10s, go and have a watch of Alvaro Recoba. And then that will tell you what a number 10 should look like. Yeah. Again, another player that I forget to mention. Yeah. And again, Recoba was someone that played out wide, but was an actual number 10. Again, if you haven't seen the likes of Alvaro Recoba, Uruguayan international, I'd I'd recommend fans to go and watch Alvaro Recoba, because what a player he was. And then you've got Mario Balotelli and Hernan Crespo. Yeah. Now, just reading these names there, yeah, there's no way this Arsenal team touches not one of these players. You might have the odd Arsenal player, and you might look at Declan Rice or Zubimendi, as better than a Cristiano Zanetti. You might be pushing it with Olivier Dacour. But all these players on this list here, you can't make a case for any of them players that is better than this Inter Milan 06-07 team. Yeah. And the B team, for me, Julio Cesar for me would replace Toldo. I would probably put Maicon at right back and put Zanetti at left back, which means Maxwell doesn't get in, who was good. Cordova and Bonucci, again, you could put either one of them in. Zanetti, Dacour, I wouldn't swap them with anything of what Inter Milan's A team is. Alvaro Recoba for me would get in there for Santi Solari. Stankovic, I wouldn't put in there, even though he was a goal scoring midfielder. And then Balotelli and Crespo, I wouldn't put them ahead of Ibra and Adriano. And guys, that is just the Inter Milan team. Yeah, we've got other teams to get into, but there's not one player, bar if we're being generous, that gets into the A or B team if we're serious. Yeah. Let me just go through some of your comments, and guys, let me know what you think. Let's see. Yeah, big up Carrot Ball, man. Yeah, Julio Cesar Chavez. Listen, yeah, Crespo was sick. He was, but Adriano and Ibra, yeah, listen, if you know, you know, man. Big up Exedra. Football is finished, bro. When I'm reading out these kind of names, yeah, again, if you was born after, the 2000 era or the 2005 era, yeah, I'm afraid you haven't really seen some top players, man. You haven't seen it, man, because that list of names from Inter Milan is ridiculous. Look at that. Zlatan, Adriano, or Crespo and Balotelli would destroy any Arsenal back four. Of course. Of course. Of course. MSN, yeah. Don't worry. Listen, don't worry, bro. We've got more teams to go through. And again, this was off the back of what Lumi Rain was saying, that this Arsenal current squad, would be any A and B team. And you've clearly seen that they don't touch that Inter Milan 06-07 team. Right, let's go on to the next team, which is Manchester. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Barcelona 08-09 team. Yeah. Now, this is going to be quick, yeah, because I'm looking at that whole A team there of Victor Valdez, Victor Valdez, Dani Alves, Carlos Puyol, Gerard Piqué, Eric Abidal, Sergio Busquets, Xavi, Iniesta, Messi, Henry, Eto'o. Yeah, there's not one Arsenal player that gets into that Barcelona A team. Not one. If we're being picky, yeah, and we're looking at a weak link in that team, yeah, you're probably looking at the goalkeeper. That is how much this team dominates this Arsenal current 11. Yeah, so this is the Barcelona 2008-2009 team. I mean, you've got a back four there, yeah. Dani Alves, for me, is one of the best right backs to ever play the game. Puyol and Piqué, two Spanish internationals, their partnership. The only thing Gabriel and Saliba would have over those two is pace. That's it. But in terms of positioning, know-how, composure, you know, the winning mentality, you know, Puyol and PK together were different, which is what was evidenced in them winning Champions Leagues and league titles. Eric Abidal was actually a centre back, French international. Yeah, Eric Abidal is better than anything Arsenal have. Sergio Busquets, for me, yeah, and this is how highly I rate Sergio Busquets. Sergio Busquets was the Lionel Messi of his position, just like Andres Iniesta. Yeah, I don't think people deep how good these players were. You know, if you're from that era, you would know anyway. Xavi speaks for himself. Iniesta, one of my favorite ever players to watch. Closest player to Iniesta is Pedri. And then Messi, there's no point in getting onto Messi because Arsenal could have 5 players. Not one of them is going to be, not they can have 5 players wrapped in one. They're not better than Messi. You know what I mean? Thierry Henry speaks for himself as well. And then Samuel Eto'o. Yeah. Then if we go into the B team, you got Jose Manuel Pinto. Again, was a backup keeper. If you want to say David Raya and Pinto, cool. But David Raya only goes in there into the B team. Martin Cáceres was actually a centre-back, Uruguayan international. Yeah. If you want to say Urian Timber over Cáceres, cool. But he goes into the B team because he's not touching Dani Alves. Rafael Marquez and Gabby Milito. Yeah. 2 South American defenders. Gabriel and Saliba, would they be better than Marquez and Milito? Well, Marquez and Milito were part of a Champions League and Premier League winning team. So, again, it's very hard to say if these guys can even touch players like that. And that was their B team. Yeah. If I'm looking at Arsenal's B team, Hincapié and Mosquito, they're not touching Marquez and Milito. So there's no point even discussing. Silvinho, again, former left back for Arsenal. Again, still better than any left back that Arsenal has to produce right now. And that's their B team, by the way. Vasquez, centre midfielder. Again, if you want to say Declan Rice, Zubamendi gets in ahead of Vasquez, cool. Seydou Keita. If anyone remembers Seydou Keita, left-footed central midfielder. Very underrated central midfielder. Again, was backup to those 3 because that 3 there is arguably the best 3 to ever play the game. So it's not even a like what they call it, a disrespect to say that you just can't get in front of that 3 because that 3 was ridiculous. And then we go on to Yaya Toure. Yeah. The very fact here that Yaya Toure is in the B team, and not because Yaya Toure is not good enough, yeah, but the A team is that good in Busquets, Xavi, Iniesta. Yaya Toure had to play centre-back at times because the level was so high, yeah. Yaya Toure, in his prime, walks in to any Arsenal team that they've ever had. And I'm talking about the likes of Vieira and Fabregas. You would devise a formation to get Yaya Toure in there. That is how good Yaya Toure was. Yeah. And he's in Barca's B team 08-09 because Yaya Toure is arguably one of the best midfielders to ever play in the Premier League. I put him up there as 1 or 2. I don't think people deep how good he was in the Premier League. You know, the guy had no weaknesses. And then you got Pedro. If anyone remembers, you know, when the Henry and the Eto'o moved on, it was actually Lionel Messi as a false 9. This is what I was saying to Talik Miller yesterday. Leo Messi as the false 9, Pedro from the right, David Villa from the left. Alexander Hleb, again, former player of Arsenal. And then Ida Gudjonsson. Ida Gudjonsson is better than anything Arsenal have right now in their first team. Yeah. Alexander Hleb is better than anything that Arsenal have right now in their first team. Pedro is better than anything now Arsenal have in their first team. So again, I look at this whole Barcelona 08-09. There's no point even discussing the first team, the A team. The B team, if you want to get Urian Timber for Cáceres, you know, if you want to get Gabriel or Saliba for a Marquez or Milito, and if you want to get a Declan Rice or a Zubamendi for a Vasquez, cool. You know, but they're going straight into the B team. Yeah. So again, Arsenal's current team doesn't touch Inter Milan's A or B team, and it doesn't touch Barca's A team for sure, and it just gets in probably 3 players into the B team. Yeah. So again, we're looking at elite teams there. And again, when we've got people saying that Arsenal's current team beats any A and B team, I'm just going back to teams of the past, yeah, and how elite football was back then. Because there's not one player from Arsenal that gets into any of these A teams that I've spoken about. And again, I'm just telling you some honest facts. You know, there's no bias involved here. I'm just telling you the truth. And I can't make a case for any player to get into Inter or Barca's team so far. Yeah. One of my favorites are Pirlo and JJ Okocha. Yeah, I hear it, man. I hear it. Let's go through some of the chats quickly. Guys, make sure we're smashing the like button. Make sure we are subbing to the channel. Yeah, Big Up Fit says, I remember signing a 15-year-old Bojan on Football Manager. Bad boy won the kid in that game. Yeah, listen, Bojan was meant to be, you know, the next big thing. Him and Giovanni Dos Santos, if you remember. They were saying Giovanni Dos Santos was the next Ronaldinho because of the long hair, if you remember. But his career never went the way it went. Neither did Bojan's. You know what I mean? Obviously, Bojan ended up at Stoke City. Who remembers Fight Night? Of course, man. Come on. Of course. That's the original boxing game. The one they've got now is Undisputed, which I haven't played in ages. I don't think I've even got it no more. I have to check that. But of course, Fight Night, man. Of course. Right, let's move on, guys, because we've clearly seen that Arsenal don't have one player from Inter's 06 team and 06-07 and Barca's 08-09 team that gets in. We are now going to move on to Real Madrid's 16-17 team. Yeah, let's move on to Real Madrid's 16 and 17 team. So, Keylor Navas, again, a goalkeeper that was very underrated for me. You know, I do think he was highly underrated, in fact, you know. But again, what a goalkeeper he was for Real Madrid. You know, I think how he got his move actually to Real Madrid, I believe it was the World Cup where Costa Rica done well in, and he was the standout goalkeeper. I actually think he might have won goalkeeper of the tournament. I can't remember. And that prompted Real Madrid to go and sign him. Yeah. But again, he was instrumental in Real Madrid's domination for winning Champions League for Real Madrid in that time. You know, Dani Carvajal, you know, one of Spain's best right backs. You know, they've had Michel Salgado, Dani Carvajal. I'm trying to think who else was before that, but Carvajal definitely will go down as that. Carvajal's I think he's a World Cup winner, Euro winner, Champions League winner. He's won it all. He's won it all. Yeah. Pepe, you know, one of the most dirtiest, ruthless defenders I've ever seen, by the way. Yeah. But an absolute winner. Yeah. His partnership with Sergio Ramos. And again, Sergio Ramos for me is, I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. When I talk about the best ever defenders to play the game, I'd argue this with anyone. He is there. Whether you want to put him in the top 3, the top 5, Ramos for me is there. Again, another defender with no weaknesses. The only player that I've seen, there's 2 players. There's only been 2 players, yeah, that attackers that I've ever seen absolutely destroy Ramos. One of them was Ronaldinho. One of them was Messi. Yeah. And you are talking about 2 of the greatest players to ever play the game. Yeah. 2 of my favorites. They're the only 2 players that I've seen consistently get the better of Ramos. His battles with Luis Suarez, you know, was good. But Ramos used to always hold his own. But in terms of Ramos, his standing in the game for Real Madrid, listen, this guy was underrated. Underrated. One of the best centre-backs of all time for me. And as I said, he doesn't get the respect he deserves, in my opinion. So, yeah. Marcelo. Again, you guys know how much of a fan I am of Marcelo. Yeah. Marcelo, for me, yeah, is the world's greatest left back, in my opinion. People might say Paolo Maldini, Roberto Carlos, yeah. Paolo Maldini, for me, was a centre back by trade, and obviously was a top left back. You know, obviously Paolo Maldini, there is an argument to say he was better than Marcelo. Roberto Carlos, for me, was a powerhouse of a left back. You know, the striking was just out of this world, really. But in terms of just pure ability, yeah, I've never seen someone as talented as a left back than Marcelo. Marcelo was ridiculous. He was better than some wingers and some top wingers at it as well. Yeah. James Rodriguez. I know Rodriguez is down as a right winger. Rodriguez was a 10, but the way that Madrid played, you know, he would be tucking inside from the right or sometimes played on the left. And obviously they played the front three as well. So I've got him down as a right midfielder. But again, he could easily be an attacking midfielder or a 10. Modric and Cruz, part of Real Madrid's greatest ever era with Casemiro in there. As I said, I mean, Casemiro really should be in the A team. So again, I'm gonna swap Casemiro actually for Rodriguez because that was their main team. So Casemiro obviously is in there. Rodriguez will be in the B team. So yeah, Casemiro, Modric, and Cruz as a three. I mean, there's no point even discussing these guys too much because they were part of the domination for Real Madrid in Champions League. Says it all, you know. Cristiano Ronaldo, again, we all know about Ronaldo. You know, one of the greatest players to play the game. For what he's won, for his accolades. You know, Isco. Now, those of you that have never really watched Isco from young, and I'm not talking about when Isco was at Real Madrid. I'm talking about Isco when he was at Malaga. Yeah, if you know, you know, yeah. What a player, what a talent. And this is why, guys, yeah, when people come on here and start telling me about Bruno Fernandes's numbers, Jude Bellingham is one of the best players in the world, you know, I have to look at this and think you are either being indoctrinated by others or you might be under the age of 16, because I'm just not going to have it on my channel, yeah, for people telling me that Bruno Fernandes and Jude Bellingham are the two best midfield 10s in the world because of numbers. It's never going to happen, never will. So if you're going to come here with that chat, think again, because it's not going to happen on there. Because when I've seen players like Isco, who didn't have nowhere near the numbers of a Bellingham that he had for the one season, even though we know why that was, or a Bruno Fernandes, you cannot tell me that these players are better than Isco. As I said, don't worry about Isco at Real Madrid, because some of the cameos that this guy displayed was unreal. Go and watch Isco at Malaga. Go and watch him for Spain when he was playing on the left-hand side for Spain. The guy is one of the best technicians to play the game, but didn't have the career that he should have had or the respect, because people just care about numbers. You know, the game's about numbers now, which has killed football. I don't care what anyone says, it's killed football. Because if you know about Isco, you just know what a top player he was. And big up to Exedra, amazing player. Listen, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Karim Benzema, again, another favorite of mine. One of the best strikers of his generation, easy. And if you don't know about Benzema, yeah, Karim Benzema modeled his game on R9. Yeah, when Karim Benzema was at Lyon, coming through the system, you know, playing for Lyon, I believe at 16. I remember watching him for the first time, yeah. And the first game I watched him was it was for France's under-21s against England, funny enough. And I believe in the England team that day, it might have been Shola Amiobi, if you remember Shola Amiobi, yeah. And Benzema was playing, and I believe Nasri was there as well, yeah. And again, you know, if those of you that don't know, you know, I've actually played against Samir Nasri, you know, as a youngster. So I've seen firsthand how good he was. But I watched this striker, and at the time I thought, who is this striker? Yeah. And the Benzema that people do remember from when he was playing with R9 and that, yeah, that wasn't the Benzema that he should have been. Because if you know anything about Karim Benzema's career, yeah, he had to adapt his game Go on. Go on. Go 1-1. Oi, Mosquito got done. Mosquito got done. Oh no, it's salmon. Salmon, my bad. Salmon. They got a fish in defense for them. Listen, he got done. He got scared and he got done. 1-1, guys. Mansfield and Arsenal. I do think Arsenal will win it though, but listen. 1-1. Man like salmon. Was it mosquito or salmon? One or two got done. But anyway, let's get back onto it. Yeah. So yeah, guys, Karim Benzema, yeah. Let me see this. Was it mosquito? Yeah, it was mosquito. Mosquito got done. Hey. Yeah. 1-1. 1-1. Listen, Karim Benzema, one of my favorite ever strikers. When I say my favorite strikers, yeah, R9, Adriano, and Benzema. They're my three favorites, you know. And again, Karim Benzema, when I first was aware of him playing for France's under-21s, you know, when I found out that he modeled his game on R9, you could clearly see that it was that. And again, the guy was unreal. And if anyone remembers when he destroyed United at Old Trafford, Rio Ferdinand and that, yeah, you could just see that the career path for Benzema was to go and be one of the top strikers in the world. And if you remember, Man United had the chance to get Benzema, but then when Real Madrid come calling, it's hard to turn that down. Yeah, that whole A team for Real Madrid, by the way, guys, there's not one Arsenal player that touches that team. Not one. Not one. Yeah. Not one of them players. And again, Rodriguez is going into the B team. So Casemiro replaces Rodriguez. Yeah. Not one Arsenal player gets into that team. Yeah. Then we go on to the B team. Kike Casilla. What's happened there? Kike Casilla. Marcos Llorente, obviously now of Atletico Madrid. Rafael Varane. Danilo's there, but Danilo was a right back, but I know he's got centre back on there. Fabio Contral at left back, Marco Asensio, Mateo Kovacic, James Rodriguez, Gareth Bale, Martin Odegaard, your current player, Alvaro Morata. Yeah. Now again, there's not one player from Arsenal's team, the current team, that gets into the A team. The B team, if you want to say David Raya for Casilla, cool. But he's going straight into the B team. Timber, Llorente is obviously a centre midfielder by trade. But Timber for Llorente. If you want to say Timber for Llorente, cool. But there's not much in it, really. There's not one. Gabriel and Saliba don't touch Varane. So that's just something that we can just put to bed, yeah? Danilo's is a fullback. You know, is Timber better than Danilo? Not for me. Not for me. You know, Danilo can obviously play left back as well. You know, Contral is better than anything that Arsenal have at left back. Marco Asensio is better than anything Arsenal have on the wing. Saka, Madueke. Yeah? Kovacic and James Rodriguez. James Rodriguez as a 10 is better than anything Arsenal have. Yeah? Mateo Kovacic is better than anything Arsenal have. Gareth Bale, well, there's no point even talking about Gareth Bale because, again, it's a disrespect to mention Gareth Bale. Good play, Dalman. Oh, good play. Good play from Dalman. It's disrespectful to mention Martinelli and Trossard in the same sentence with Gareth Bale. Guys, this Dalman's got something, you know. This Dalman's got potential, I'm telling you. He's a very good player, man. Martin Odegaard. Yeah. If you want to swap Odegaard for Odegaard, cool. I'm here for it. Yeah. And Alvaro Morata is better than anything Arsenal have right now. Yeah. Yeah, Xedra, bro. I was gonna say that, bro. The way that we're getting on at the moment, yeah. We should just go and tell Dalman, look, come to the theatre, man. We're on the up. I'm here for that, man. I'm definitely here for that. You know, tell Dalman, look, Saka's blocking your path. Madueke costs money. Come to us, man. We'll get you in this team. You know, I'm telling you now, he's definitely got something, that Dalman. He's definitely got something, man. 100%. So, so again, guys, that's the Real Madrid A and B team. You could probably only make a case, yeah, for David Raya for Casilla, Timber for Llorente. We're pushing it. And that's it. That's it. So again, one maybe two players gets into Real Madrid's B team. So far, there hasn't been one Arsenal player that is getting into Inter Milan's 06-07 team, Barcelona's 08-09 team, or Real Madrid's 16-17 team. Yeah? Let's move on, guys, because, you know, Lumi Rain, I hope you're watching, because you were telling us that there's not one team in history of football that beats this Arsenal current team. We've gone through 3, yeah? And not one of them gets into the A team. And we've got a few more to discuss as well. Let's go on to the Bayern Munich 1920 team. Yeah? Manuel Neuer, one of the greatest goalkeepers of his generation. Joshua Kimmich, you know, plays centre-back under Pep, midfielder by trade, plays right-back for Germany as well. Yeah? Nicolas Soule, David Alaba. You know, Alaba obviously was a left-back at Bayern Munich, and obviously he's at Real Madrid now. But as he's got older, he's gone more to centre-back, but was playing on the wing for Austria. Lucas Hernandez, Serge Gnabry on the right, Thiago Alcantara. I'm telling you now, yeah. And big up to, I think it might have been Exedra yesterday, yeah, when he mentioned Thiago Alcantara, yeah, Pogba and Wilshere to rank them, yeah. I don't think people deep, yeah, how good Thiago Alcantara was. I don't think people can deep this, yeah. He's as talented as Paul Pogba. He is one of the most talented players of his generation. Leon Goretzka, Kingsley Coman, Thomas Muller, Robert Lewandowski. Yeah. Now, if I'm looking at Arsenal's current team, David Raya or Manuel Neuer, there's no point talking. Neuer. Yeah. Jurrien Timber or Joshua Kimmich. Saliba or Nicolas Soule. If you want to say Saliba for Soule, I'm not going to argue. Alaba or Gabriel. Well, Alaba's naturally a midfielder come left back, but went centre back as he got older. If you want to say Gabriel for Alaba, cool. Lucas Hernandez is better than any left back that you've got right now. Serge Gnabry is better than, and again, Serge Gnabry is former Arsenal, yeah? But he's better than anything you've got on the right. Yeah? Thiago Alcantara is not only better than anything you've got now, yeah? But just like Yaya Toure, you would devise a midfield to get him in there if you want to keep Vieira and Fabregas. Goretzka. You know, I personally think Declan Rice is better than Goretzka. I don't really rate Goretzka like that. Yeah? So cool, Goretzka. Kingsley Coman is better than anything you've got on the wing, on the left. Thomas Muller, again, Thomas Muller's a funny one, yeah? Because Thomas Muller isn't my type of player, my number 10, yeah? But there's no denying that Thomas Muller, you know, was one of Germany's greatest players for what he's won, for the consistency, and playing at a top level for the likes of Bayern Munich, yeah? He's better than anything you've got in the 10. And then Robert Lewandowski, again, just like Benzema, to mention Lewandowski in the same sentence with the likes of Victor Gyökeres and, you know, Gabriel Jesus and Havertz is disrespectful. So again, you've got maybe 3 players if you want to Saliba, Gabriel and Declan Rice for Soule, Alaba and Goretzka, if we're being generous, yeah? The B team, again, you've got Sven Ulreich back up to Neuer. Benjamin Pavard, you know, in there, centre-back by trade. Jerome Boateng. Again, if you want to put Boateng in the first team, yeah, Saliba, is he better than Boateng? Not really, no. Javi Martinez, again, midfielder by trade, did play centre-back for Bayern Munich, yeah. Alphonso Davies is better than anything you've got at left-back. And again, defensively, he's not that great, but attacking-wise, you ain't got nothing attacking-wise that's better than what he does. Perisic on the right, again, in his prime, better than anything Arsenal has produced on the right-hand side. Corentin Tolisso playing for Lyon right now in midfield. Renato Sanchez, if you remember Renato Sanchez, Portuguese, you know, is Declan Rice or Zubimendi better than Tolisso or Sanchez? I wouldn't say so, you know, and this is a Bayern Munich team that I believe won Bundesliga. I think, did they win the Champions League in there somewhere as well? You know, Philippe Coutinho, better than anything Arsenal's got on the left-hand side. Jamal Musiala, even though he's been out for how long, is better than anything Arsenal can produce in that number 10 role. Joshua Zirkzee, my guy, is better than anything Arsenal have. You know, you can mock Joshua Zirkzee all you want, yeah? But Joshua Zirkzee was part of a Bayern Munich team that won Champions League and the Bundesliga, and is a top footballer. And the fact that Joshua Zirkzee was the backup to Robert Lewandowski for Bayern Munich, yeah, put some respect on his name. Put some respect on his name. There's too many fans out there that are obsessed with numbers and want to disrespect Joshua Zirkzee because Joshua Zirkzee doesn't get 30 to 35 goals a season without actually understanding that strikers now are not just judged on numbers. They're not. In the 90s, they maybe were looked at like that, but not in today's football. And until people actually realize that, yeah, you're going to be asking for things that some players are just not going to produce because that isn't their game, you know. But you look, if you go and talk to the likes of Robert Lewandowski, yeah, I believe there was Lewandowski actually spoke about Zirkzee, saying how talented he is. You know, you don't become a bad player, yeah, if like he's been at Bayern Munich, Joshua Zirkzee. You know what I mean? But the hate that he gets in this country is just for a lack of understanding of football. That's the truth, you know. So again, I look at Arsenal's current team now. They possibly have 3 players that, if we're being generous, get into the A team, which means obviously they'll figure in the B team, and that's possibly Saliba, Gabriel, Declan Rice. Even though, is Declan Rice better than Tolisso and Sanchez? Probably not. You're only saying he's better than Goretzka, but then you could swap Goretzka with one of them two, and that means Declan Rice gets into the B team. You know, and then you've got Boateng. If you put Boateng for Sule, is Saliba or Gabriel better than Boateng? Not for me. You know, so there you have it, man. That's the Bayern team. Let's get back onto your questions quickly, and before we move on, we've got 4 or 5 more teams to work through, guys. You know, this was brought on by Lumi Rain, because Lumi Rain was saying that the Arsenal team don't get beat by any A or B team. So let's see if she was right, because at the moment she was wrong. Let's see. Yeah, listen, Xerxes is underused, highly disrespected, highly underused. Big up to Christopher McGrath as well. Big up yourself. Carrot Ball says, do you like Sesko? I do like Sesko, but Sesko shouldn't be starting ahead of Xerxes, and I've always said that. I said that at the start of the season. The only reason why people want Sesko to start ahead of Xerxes is because they're with this understanding that Sesko scores goals more than Xerxes, but don't actually realize that, you know, you need to have balance in the front line. If you've got Xerxes as the false 9 and you've got wide forwards that want to score goals, you need a Xerxes because he links the play. You know what I mean? If you've got creators out wide, you need a goal scoring striker because the creators are there. This is the balance in football. You know what I mean? But again, people don't really want to have that conversation because it's just too easy to say, oh, he doesn't score goals, and they think that's the be all and end all. But again, if you understand systems in football, understanding partnerships, oh, unlucky, then you'll realize, you know what I mean? So Sesko is a super sub, and he's shown that, you know what I mean? And again, there's nothing wrong with being a super sub because subs are there for a reason, to change the flow of the game. And the way that Sesko plays, you know, with his physicality and his pace, he can play on the shoulder, you know, and that would help out. That would help the team with having his energy off the bench. But you see, when he started against Newcastle, he wasn't in the game. You know, he wasn't in the game because his natural game isn't really to come to the ball. And in games like that, where you need to be holding the ball up, you know, bringing others into the game, that isn't the way that Sesko plays, unfortunately. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But anyway, let's go on to the next team. And guys, make sure you're smashing the likes, make sure you're subbing, make sure you're sharing the channel as well. And big up to yourselves. Let's move on to Manchester United 07-08 team. 07-08 team. One of my favorite ever errors as a Manchester United fan. You know, we're just going to run through this because it's going to be very obvious. Eze, what a finish. 2-1. Eze just scored, guys. 2-1. So, Edwin van der Sar. Again, there's no point going through all these players because obviously a lot of you guys are aware of these players anyway. So, Van der Sar, Gary Neville, Rio Ferdinand, Vidic, Evra, Ronaldo, Scholes, Carrick, Giggs, Tevez, Rooney. Yeah? And let's just be honest with this, yeah? There isn't one Arsenal player that has anywhere near getting into this team. So we're just going to move straight on to the B team. If you want to say, David Raya gets in there ahead of Ben Foster, cool. Urian Timber or Wes Brown? Wesley Brown. Listen, Wes Brown was a centre-back by trade. Very underrated player as well. I'm taking Wes Brown ahead of Urian Timber and Ben White. Sorry, I'm taking him, yeah? John O'Shea, you know, a player that played all over the place. Left back, right back, centre-back. I'm pretty sure someone said he played as a striker as well, yeah? If anyone remembers John O'Shea's highlight, yeah? John O'Shea nuts in Figo. I remember that game against Real Madrid when he put the ball through Figo's legs at Old Trafford. Again, John O'Shea didn't predominantly play too many great games as a centre-back for United. But if you want to say Saliba, Gabriel ahead of John O'Shea, you know, there's an argument for it. There is an argument. Johnny Evans, again, another defender that was highly underrated, you know. Again, if you want to say Gabriel and Saliba ahead of Evans, again, there's an argument, but it's not really nailed on. Mikel Silvestre, again, former Arsenal player as well, is better than anything that Arsenal can produce at left back. Owen Hargreaves, a guy whose career was blighted by injuries. Yeah, better than anything that Arsenal have in midfield. You know, people might say Declan Rice. Not for me. Owen Hargreaves. Owen Hargreaves was highly technical from playing in Germany for a few years with Bayern Munich as well, and he has the energy that Declan Rice has as well. So I'm taking Owen Hargreaves. Darren Fletcher, again, another underrated midfielder. You know what I mean? Wasn't blessed with quality, but again, fitted the Man United first team like a glove, really, in terms of being a squad player. Anderson, you know, if anyone remembers Anderson and Nani were bought in the same window. You know, they were, again, linking Anderson as being the next Ronaldinho. I don't know where they got a comparison from, because Ronaldinho's right-footed, Anderson's left-footed, you know. And obviously Anderson was a central midfielder that can play as a 10 as well. But what a player Anderson was. Again, another player that is criminally disrespected. I believe at Man United he had weight issues as well. But again, the one game that I remember from Anderson is when United played Liverpool, and the way that he locked up Steven Gerrard, who's revered as one of the best midfielders to play in the Premier League and in England. You know, you need to go and watch that game. I can't remember what game it was, but it's when Arsenal played. I mean, United played Liverpool, and he gave Steven Gerrard a tough time, man. Yeah. And then you got Nani, Ji-Sung Park, Louis Saha. Yeah. Again, underrated players. If anyone remembers the goal that Nani scored against Arsenal at the Emirates, when he was on the right hand side, he jinked past two players and then dinked it over. I can't remember who was in goal, over his head. Yeah. And then Louis Saha, again, another striker that is criminally underrated. You know. So let's go on to the B team, because the A team, Arsenal ain't got a prayer to get anyone in that A team. Yeah. The B team. If you want to say David Raya for Foster, cool. If you want to say Gabriel and Saliba for O'Shea and Evans, there's an argument. Cool. Nani's better than anything you've got on the right-hand side. Park Ji-Sung's better than anything you've got on the left-hand side. And Louis Saha, you know, Louis Saha is underrated, and he's better than anything you've ever produced in that striking position. Bar Bergkamp, Van Persie, and Henry. That's the truth. So again, you know, I've counted so far maybe one or two players that might get into the legendary A and B teams as a starter, and even that's questionable. Yeah? Even that is questionable. So the Invincibles happen, the quad will happen too. Yeah. I can see Mansfield equalizing though, you know. I can see them equalizing. Right, let's move it on, guys, because that was a nice, easy one. That was a nice, easy one. Let's move it back to Real Madrid. Real Madrid's 07-08 team. Yeah. And again, there's some names in there that people might not even be aware of or might have forgotten. Yeah. Real Madrid's 07-08 team. Iker Casillas, you know, one of Real Madrid's and Spain's greatest ever keepers. You know, might actually go down as the greatest for both club and country together. Michel Salgado, right back for Real Madrid. A stalwart for them for years. Sergio Ramos again. Pepe again. Marcelo. Arjen Robben. Lassana Diarra. Again, Lassana Diarra is an ex-Chelsea, Arsenal, Portsmouth midfielder. Fernando Gago, Argentinian international. Wesley Sneijder. Again, Sneijder was a 10. Yeah. Ruud van Nistelrooy and Raul. Yeah. Now, again, let's just run through Arsenal's current team. Yeah. And we're going to dissect this. Yeah. David Raya or Casillas. Casillas, easy. Jurrien Timber or Michel Salgado. I think talent-wise, Salgado, and again, guys, some of the players on the B team could easily be in the A team, and we will discuss that anyway. Yeah. Salgado talent-wise, you know, Timber might be, if you want to say Timber's more talented, I hear the argument, but it's not by a massive gap, because Salgado was very consistent. Yeah. Ramos and Pepe we've done already, so there's no point going through them. And Marcelo. Arjen Robben. I mean, Arjen Robben is better than anything Arsenal have ever produced on the right-hand side. He's better than anything they've ever produced on the right-hand side. I'm talking about years of history. Arsenal have not produced a right winger like Robben. Easy. Lassana Diarra. Again, what a top midfielder. They were likening him to be in the next Makelele Essien in one. Fernando Gago. Again, Gago was a very good midfielder. If you remember, they bought him from, I believe, Boca Juniors or River Plate in Argentina. You know, and again, he wasn't seen as a top midfielder. He was just seen as just a good midfielder. Wesley Sneijder. If you know about Wesley Sneijder, man, one of the top midfielders to play the game. At number 10, should I say. And again, another player that I actually forget about. When I say number 10s, I always mention Riquelme, Aymar, you know, Bergkamp, Zidane, Ronaldinho, you know, players like that. And I forget the likes of Schneider, Rivaldo, these kind of guys. Yeah. Ruud van Nistelrooy and Raul. Yeah. So again, Arsenal do not have one player, that gets into Real Madrid's 07-08 team as a starter. If I'm looking at a position there that they might want to try and battle for, yeah, and that's because it might be before your time. You might be looking at either Salgado or Fernando Gago. You might be, but Lissana Diarra is better than anything that they have right now in midfield. Fernando Gago, for me, is better than anything they've got in midfield. But people might want to say, Rice or Zubimendi for Gago, not for me, because Gago was a very good footballer. And then you got Timber or Salgado. Again, toss of a coin. Yeah. The B team, Jerzy Dudek, formerly of Liverpool, Miguel Torres at right back, Fabio Cannavaro. And the fact that Fabio Cannavaro is in the B team, yeah, it just shows you again, just like a few of the other squads, it shows you how high the level is. Because you've got Cannavaro, who was a Ballon d'Or winner, as part of the B team, because you got Ramos and Pepe. For me personally, I'd probably try and get Cannavaro in there for Pepe. But again, toss of a coin. Christoph Metzelder. If you remember Christoph Metzelder, formerly of Borussia Dortmund as well, centre-back for Germany. Gabriel Hensey. Royston Drenthe. If you remember Royston Drenthe, Dutch international. Guti. Julio Baptista, again, formerly of Arsenal. Robinho. Gonzalo Higuain. Javier Saviola. If you remember Javier Saviola, I actually forgot Saviola went to Real Madrid because Saviola used to be at Barcelona. Yeah. Now, when I'm hearing that this Arsenal current team is better than all these teams, that Real Madrid squad there is mad. It's absolutely mad. Yeah. So not only do Arsenal not have a player that gets into the A team, if we're pushing it, we're saying maybe one. Yeah. The B team, if you want to say, David Raya or Dudek. Well, Dudek's a Champions League winning goalkeeper. So again, David Raya can't get in there. Timber or Miguel Torres. If you want to say Timber for Torres, cool. Centre backs, forget about it. Forget about it. You might say Metzelder, but again, Metzelder was decent, and Gabriel Saliba ain't won nothing. So I can't really be saying that they're going to do anything ahead of Metzelder. Gabriel Hensey is better than anything you got at left back. Royston Drenthe, again, is better than anything you've got at left back, because that's where he played for Real Madrid, but he also played on the wing as well. He's better than anything you've got on the wing. Facts. Guti. If anyone remembers Guti, another player, that wasn't spoken about as highly as he should have been. Guti was a pure footballer. You know what I mean? He played for Real Madrid for years because he come through the system and he was just that good. Yeah? And you've got someone like Guti who doesn't get his flowers, but we're meant to believe that Jude Bellingham is the second coming of Zidane. That is how much disrespect, that these players of the past get. When I'm hearing people say, and you guys have heard the story already, I've told you. I had a friend that had the cheek to tell me that Jude Bellingham is the next coming of Zidane. He's got the potential to be better than Zidane. He actually told me that with a straight face. He's ignoring players like Iniesta, even Guti at the same team, to talk about Jude Bellingham being the next coming of Zidane. That is how much delusion is in conversation in this era of football. You've got guys that should be nowhere near Real Madrid squad in Jude Bellingham being talked about as being better or potentially better than Zinedine Zidane. The disrespect is just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. Yeah. And you've got Julio Baptista. Again, Baptista was a good player. His nickname was the Beast, because of his physical presence. I remember Baptista, I believe, scored a hat-trick against Liverpool at Anfield for Arsenal. I think him and Arshavin. I think Arshavin scored 4 actually at Anfield, if you remember. Robinho, if you remember Robinho, you know, was the big name signing for when Man City were doing their madness when it first started. Yeah. Gonzalo Higuain, pure goal scorer. Obviously, formerly of Juventus as well, and Chelsea, and Javier Saviola. So again, you look at that B team, yeah, for Real Madrid. Arsenal probably have one player from their first team, two, if we're being generous, yeah, that get into the B team. So again, guys, can you see the levels, yeah, from what football was before? So that's why I refuse, yeah, to be drawn into these conversations for people to tell me that you've got some of these players that are getting hyped up right now that are better than these players of the past. You know, if you was around this era of football, you would just know the level anyway. So it's nothing new from what I'm saying to you, really. Yeah? Let's move it on, guys. I've got a few more to work through before we wrap it up. So I've got 3 more to get through. Now, I'm going to go on to Barca's 2014-2015. Now, this is probably one of my favorite ever teams. Yeah? Because of the amount of quality in there. You know, the front 6 of Busquets, Xavi, Iniesta, Messi, Neymar, and Suarez. Name me a front 6 that's been better than that. Name me a front 6 that's been better than that. Because that front 6 there, you are talking about at the time, yeah, them 6 players there are the 3 best players in their positions in the world. You've got the best DM. You've got the 2 best midfielders in the world. The best player in the world in Messi. The second best player in the world and the heir to Messi's throne in Neymar. And you've got arguably, along with the likes of Benzema, Lewandowski at the time, Luis Suarez as the best, and Aguero are put in there as well, as the best striker in the world. Yeah? That team there is illegal. Not to mention, you had the best fullback pairing in the world in Dani Alves and Jordi Alba. Yeah? PK Mascherano. Mascherano, a midfielder by trade, but was transitioned by Luis Enrique, I believe, as a centre-back. Yeah? And then you've got Marc-Andre ter Stegen, at the time, was the best ball-playing goalkeeper. Yeah? That team there was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And again, that front 3 of MSN is the best front 3 that I've ever seen together. That front 3 had everything. Everything you could think of. Skill, speed, technique, goal scoring, hunger, like anything. Anything you can think of, they could do it all. That 3, yeah? Wait, Arsenal through. Let's see, Saka. Oh, good save. So again, that Arsenal's current team and their B team gets nowhere near the first team, you know, and there's not even one player that can get anywhere near that, anywhere near it. And as Xedra said, a cheat code, ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, that team there. Then we go on to the B team, Claudio Bravo, formerly of Man City as well, Martin Montoya, Marc Bartra, Thomas Vermaelen, ex-Arsenal, Jeremy Mathieu, left-back, centre-back, Sergi Samper, Ivan Rakitic. What a player Rakitic was. And again, Rakitic was that good, yeah? He could have figured into this first team. But when you've got Busquets, Xavi, Iniesta, it's another Yaya Toure situation where these guys are good enough to be in that team, but the level is just so high. Sergi Roberto. If you remember Sergi Roberto scoring the winning goal against PSG that time in the Champions League for the comeback. Pedro, Adama Traore. The fact that Adama Traore found himself at Barcelona is a joke in itself. You know what I mean? And then you got Sandro Ramirez. Yeah? So again, if you want to say that Arsenal have the current team that can get into the B team, David Raya or Bravo for me. Timber or Montoya. If you want to have a case for Timber, cool. Saliba and Gabriel. If you want to have a case for Bartra, cool. Vermaelen was very underrated, by the way. Ex-Arsenal player, ex-Arsenal captain. You know, Gabriel or Vermaelen. I mean, Vermaelen won trophies, so you might want to stick with Vermaelen. Matthew's better than anything you got at left back. If you want to say Rice or Zubamendi for Samper or for Samper, cool. Rakitic is better than anything you've got in midfield. Sergio Roberto was a centre midfielder, right back, utility guy, really. Who's Arsenal's utility guy? I can't really think of one. But if you want to say, Rice or Zubamendi for Roberto, there's an argument. Pedro's better than anything you've got. As bad as Adama Traore is technically, yeah. I mean, who would you take? Trossard, Martinelli, or Traore? Trossard's a better footballer than Traore, but Martinelli's crap. So I would take Adama ahead of Martinelli. And then Ramirez, again, he was a backup striker. So if you want to say Gyökeres, Havertz, or Gabriel Jesus, the only way they're gonna figure in this Barca team, or in any team really, is to be a backup striker ahead of Ramirez. Yeah. So again, that's Barca's 14-15 team. Not one Arsenal player gets into their A team, but then you might have a case to get into the B team. Yeah. Let's move it on. Guys, big up for your questions and comments as well. Make sure you are smashing the like button. Make sure you are subbing to the channel. We got 2 more to work through. PSG 21-22. Yeah. Gianluigi Donnarumma, currently obviously of Man City. Achraf Hakimi, Marquinhos, Presnel Kimpembe, Nuno Mendes, Marco Verratti, Ander Herrera, Pablo Sarabia, Leo Messi, Neymar, Mbappe. Yeah. Donnarumma is the best keeper along with Thibaut Courtois for me right now. If you're picking 2 keepers, it's Courtois and it's Donnarumma. Achraf Hakimi, along with Reece James, are the 2 best right backs in the game. Marquinhos, has been a stalwart for PSG for years, winning Champions League titles. Presnel Kimpembe. Again, Kimpembe was the left-sided centre-back. So if you remember, they had Thiago Silva, Marquinhos, Kimpembe. And then Kimpembe stayed there. Obviously, I think he's been out injured for a long time. Obviously, you've got William Pacho, who's replaced him. Nuno Mendes, again, just like Hakimi, is the best left back in the world. Verratti. Now, Marco Verratti, again, another midfielder that didn't get his flowers. But if you remember Marco Verratti, yeah, this was a guy really that should have played for a Barcelona. Yeah. One of the best midfielders of his generation. Yeah. Top midfielder. Ander Herrera, formerly of Man United. Pablo Sarabia, formerly of Wolves. Who else you got? You got Eminem, Messi, Neymar, Mbappe. Again, an easy one. If you're making a case for any Arsenal player to get into this PSG 21-22 team, the only player really that we're probably looking at, because Kimpembe for me is Gabriel Magalhaes, really. You know what I mean? There's no point swapping them, really. So I'm not going to go there. But if we're making a case, you're probably only looking at maybe Ander Herrera or maybe Sarabia. If you want to put in Rice or Zubamendi for Herrera, it's a toss of a coin. Sarabia, for me, was technically very gifted, to be fair. But people might make a case for Saka, not for me, yeah? But everyone else, it's a wrap. Arsenal ain't got one player that gets into this team ahead of Donnarumma, Hakimi, Marquinhos, Kimpembe, Mendes, Verratti, Messi, Neymar, Mbappe. And in the B team, you've got Keylor Navas, Colin Dagba, Sergio Ramos is on the bench. Yeah. Theo Carrere, obviously captains Monaco now. Juan Bernat, Jorginho Wijnaldum, Idrissa Gueye, Xavi Simons, Di Maria, Julian Draxler, Mauro Icardi. Again, Navas or Raya? Navas. You know, Dagba didn't really play too many games. If you want to get Timber in there, cool. Sergio Ramos, forget about it. Theo Correa, obviously formerly of West Ham as well. If you want to make a case for Gabriel Saliba, cool. Bernat's better than anything you've got at left back. Wijnaldum. I mean, Wijnaldum. I mean, is there any much difference between Wijnaldum and Declan Rice? Not really. You know what I mean? So would you bother swapping that? No. Idrissa Gueye, I think, is underrated. There's not much difference between Idrissa Gueye, Rice, and Zubimendi's level. There's not. Di Maria, Xavi Simons. Xavi Simons in the 10. Odegaard, Eze, not much difference really. Di Maria is better than anything you've got on the right-hand side. Julian Draxler is better than anything you've got on the left-hand side. And Icardi's better than anything you've got up top. So, again, you struggle to get anyone in the B team, let alone the first team. Yeah? So, again, you can see the problems, guys, yeah? Arsenal don't have really any players bar 1, 2 if we're pushing it, that gets into any of the great teams that we've spoken about. Yeah? We're now going to move on to the last team, guys. We're now going to move on to the last team, which is the Chelsea 05-06 team. Yeah? We are going to wrap it up in 10 minutes, guys, yeah? Chelsea 05-06, Petr Cech, Paulo Ferreira, John Terry, Carvalho, Bridge, Makelele, Essien, Lampard, Robben, Joe Cole, Didier Drogba. Yeah? Again, I'm looking at that list right there, yeah? There's not one player that gets into, not one Arsenal current player that gets into the first team. Not one. Not one. And it's not even close. Yeah? Not even close. We go on to the B team. Carlo Cudicini, Glenn Johnson, William Gallas, Robert Huth, Azier Del Horno, Lassana Diarra, Manish, Pedro Mendes, Sean Wright-Phillips, Damien Duff, Hernan Crespo. I'm looking at that team right now, yeah? I can only make a case for, and again, I can only make a case for probably, you can probably make a case for Gabriel or Robert Huth. And then if you're being picky, Declan Rice, Zubimendi for Manish or Pedro Mendes. But there's not really much in it. But anyway, they get into the B team. Yeah? So, again, guys, I've been through. So, I've been through 10 teams, guys, yeah? And big up to Lumi Rain as well, yeah? Because Lumi Rain did say that this Arsenal current team, yeah? This Arsenal current team beats any A or B team in history. I've been through 10 of the top teams in the world, yeah? And it's safe to say that Arsenal have all of 1, maybe 2 players that make any of them teams, yeah? And that just tells you how high the level was, guys, yeah? So if there's people out there that are that are unsure of the level of football back then, we just run through players. And again, if you're born after the year 2000, 2005, you probably wouldn't have seen these kind of players. And let me tell you now, these players were some of the best players to play the game. Yeah. And a lot of these players were never marked as being world-class players. They were just marked as just being good players because the level was so high. Some of the players that are talked about right now that are, you know, amongst, in people's eyes, the best, don't get nowhere near a lot of these players. Nowhere near it. And that's just evident from what I've just read out in terms of the top players to play the game, man. It's as simple as that. Yeah? So, guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed the stream today. You know, I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to go through a few more of your questions and comments. And again, let me know in the chat what you think. Again, if I've missed some of your comments and questions, then again, yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, make sure you smash the likes, guys, and make sure you sub to the channel as well. Arsenal got what, 2 minutes to hang on. To be fair, they should be beating Mansfield, but Mansfield have given them problems. To be fair, they have given them problems, but they've got over the line. It looks like. And as Fitz has said, Arsenal clearly 10th in the list of squads. But again, they're 10th in the list, Fitz, yeah? And it wasn't even like hard to do. Because I think people forget just how good some of these players back in the day were. You know what I mean? And obviously football now is very much about recency bias. You know what I mean? But recency bias shouldn't cloud your judgment, on some of the players that have come and gone before these players now. Someone send a search party out for Lumi. I hear it, bro. I hear it, man. Lumi didn't want to hear the smoke. It's obvious, you know what I mean? But didn't want to hear the smoke. But guys, listen up. I'm gonna have to wrap it up anyway. But big up to everyone for coming through. Big up to all the mods as usual as well. And guys, make sure you smash the likes, and make sure after the stream you comment and let me know what you thought of the 10 teams that are some of the best A and B teams, or first and second teams, always through. Let's see. A good tackle from Hincapié. Yeah, guys, let me know what you think of full time. Full time. How can he blow up like that? Yeah, full time, guys. Arsenal 2-1. Yeah, guys, let me know what you think of some of the best A and B teams in the history of football. And let me know what you think, man. How Arsenal compare. Obviously, I've given you my kind of thought on it already. And again, I'm someone that's watched these players from the past, and I'm watching football now, so I've got a good judgment to make in terms of what I'm seeing. And as I said, I've probably made a case for, Jurriën Timber. So in terms of the A teams, yeah, there's probably a case for, and it's a toss of a coin for probably one player, and it's probably Jurriën Timber at right back, But in terms of the B team, you could probably say from what I spoke on, Timber, Gabriel Saliba, Declan Rice, or Zubamendi, they might get into the B teams. You know what I mean? But consistently in the A team, there's probably only one player that you could probably make an argument for, and even that is a toss of a coin, and that's probably Timber at right back. And again, that just shows the level, guys. So again, big up yourselves for coming through. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you sub to the channel. Make sure you share the channel, guys, on all your social media platforms as well. And I should be back tomorrow. If not tomorrow, guys, then definitely back at our usual time of 5:30 with myself, Fitz, and Jonas. And obviously, Liverpool winning yesterday, obviously in the cup. United not in the cup. So yeah, we're going to get back onto the Premier League talk. And obviously, we've got the Premier League games coming up, so we'll definitely be discussing that. So yeah, make sure you guys come through and support the channel. As I said, 5:30 on Monday. And then obviously I'll see you about tomorrow if I'm back. But as always, keep an eye on my notifications. Can we do a stream of just talking football? We was talking football, bro. Where you been? What planet you on, man? You been watching the wrong stream or something? But anyway, yeah, guys, as I said, if not catch you tomorrow, then Monday at 5:30. But apart from that, guys, big up to yourselves. Have a good rest of your weekend. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in a bit. Take it easy.